and welcome to Salty Saturday Playoffs Edition. I'm Markshire, and I am joined by JB tonight.
Hello, all.
So tonight, we only have one match for you guys. It's me, myself, and I of Hearthstone Academy facing off against Pink Samus of NWA. This is a pretty close match. Right now, Hearthstone Academy is up 13-10. So this is going to be the deciding match. However, me, myself, and I will only have to get one win, I believe, to secure the win for his team.
Yeah, that should be it. And I know me, myself, and I is pretty nervous. He's been in our team Discord. He has been going crazy over the last couple of days, and particularly today. So he's pretty excited to be playing in this, and it seems fitting that the deciding match of this or the deciding series of this match is on stream.
Yeah, I think so. It's good to hear that he's been talking a lot in Discord, though. I think that means that he's been preparing and that he's taking it seriously.
He has, and this is a rematch. This is a regular season rematch where in the regular season, Hearthstone Academy actually beat NWA in where 4 of their players managed to win. I won't say who the 5th player was who lost out of respect for that person, but it may have been me. All right, so it looks like the classes we've got for tonight is me, myself, and I bringing Druid, Mage, Rogue, and Warrior, with Pink Samus bringing Mage, Rogue, Shaman, and Warrior, but we've got a double Warrior ban, which has become pretty standard, I think, after the small-time Buccaneer nerf, as counterintuitive as that might be.
Yeah, I think so. Pirate Warrior has definitely emerged as one of the probably the strongest deck at the moment. You know, the meta is still settling, but it's definitely still strong after the small-time Buck nerf. So it looks like both players will be playing their Mage and Rogue, with the only difference being me, myself, and I on Druid and Pink Samus on Shaman. And they're into their first match, actually.
Yeah, me, myself, and I is very... He has played Druid a lot of the weeks of THL, I think, and he's very confident in his Druid play, and a variety of different decks as well. And so I've practiced against him a lot with his Druid, and it is pretty scary when he's on Druid. I'll just say that much. He's very strong with Druid.
Yeah.
And we're going to see game 1. Pink Samus will be on his Shaman versus me, myself, and a Mage. It appears that we're going to see an aggro Shaman of some sort versus a Tempo Mage.
Yeah, really interesting. Aggro Shaman was probably the class that got hit, or the deck that got hit by the most with the nerfs, because they lost Spirit Claws as well as Small Time Buck. But Pink Samus thinks that the deck is still good, apparently, and it is still good when you can get Tunnel Trog into Totem Golem, which he has now.
Yeah, pulling the Totem Golem off the top. We see a Flame Strike there, a little bit unusual in modern versions of the Tempo Mage. Might just be a nod to the Shaman, actually, to the Shaman matchup. It being particularly strong in that.
I would think that's the main reason it's there. It can be good against Rogue too, especially Miracle Rogue. Most of their minions only have 4 health. Fingja only has 4 health if it's the Water Rogue variant, but of course you have to hope that they're playing those at turn 7 or later.
I'm a little bit surprised at just the naked Sorcerer's Apprentice play here. Doesn't seem like there's too much advantage.
Yeah, it's not great. I think you have to get something on the board, though. I guess, because it's not like... he also could have coined out a Roaring Torch, maybe, to kill the Trog, but that seems weak. I think the Apprentice play is fine, just to maybe grab onto the board a little bit and then try to pick down some of these minions next turn.
That's true. I mean, but if your opponent has Jade Claws, you're just feeling really bad about life in general.
It's true, but sometimes you can't play around them having the perfect curve if they have the Trog into the Totem Golem.
That's also true.
Into the Claws.
That's also true. Acolyte of Pain coming out here just to get a little more draw, but that is a lot of damage assembling very quickly in Pink Samus's hand.
Yeah, I mean, Pink Samus has access to the Flame Wreath Faceless this turn, and I don't see a reason why he wouldn't just play it. He's already very far ahead on the board. He can take the easy trade into the Acolyte with the Totem Golem, and has a 4/3 Trog then to push face with.
Yeah, that is an intimidating board, to say the least.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a matchup that favors the aggro shaman. Tempo Mage really just hasn't had good matchups against shaman in general. That's usually been its weakness in the meta.
That is very true. However, it's worth noting that not a lot of decks have a favorable matchup against a shaman that opens Trog into Totem Golem into Flame Wreath Faceless.
That's true. Me, myself, and I is gonna have to go for Firewall, Coin, Arcane Blast just to get the 7 damage off of the board, and that really is his only play here. But Pink Samus is just gonna refill the board next turn with Feral Spirits.
Right, and this is where aggro shaman really shows its stuff, is the ability to just constantly be dropping threats while simultaneously, as your opponent's removing it, still being able to push enough damage to the point where when the tipping point does come and your opponent takes the board back, you will more often than not have enough leftover burst damage in hand to end the game, despite having pretty much no board. And so I think that's exactly what we're going to see from Pink Samus here. If he does something like Jade Lightning's Face, and then he'll put his opponent to 6, and then next turn he has just a lot of ways to finish the game.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo Mage doesn't run any healing, so even if me, myself, and I is able to completely clear his board, he'll just have lethal next turn with Lava Burst plus Jade Lightning.
Yes, now he's going to do what he can. Me, myself, and I will have to Roaring Torch one of these 2/3s just to stay alive on board, but we know that he will be dead to all of a large amount of burn in hand. Actually, no, he's not technically dead to board yet, but
he goes for the Mana Worm and the Thalnos, which might technically be the better play, because you're not really winning the game by playing Roaring Torch. This way he's hoping that his opponent doesn't have any burst damage, and maybe this way he can take control of the board in that 0.1% chance that Pink Samus doesn't draw any burn, but it's not going to be enough, and Pink Samus is going to take game 1.
Yes, Pink Samus taking game 1 with his Shaman will only need to win now with his Mage and Rogue, two kind of tricky classes with a couple of decks that are played for each one. So what do you think we'll see out of Pink Samus because he has Mage, which can either be a Reno Mage or a Tempo Mage or even a Freeze Mage. Recently, we've been seeing some of that pop back up, and then the Rogue can either be a Miracle Rogue or a more water aggro variant.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the Mage is. I think we're more likely to see a Tempo Mage. Reno Mage has fallen out of favor as of late, and especially seeing that Druid in me, myself, and I's lineup.
That's true.
I don't think Pink Samus would want to bring Reno Mage, really. Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Now we're going to see this Rogue come out. It does, with that Bluegill Warrior in hand, it does appear to be a Finja Water Rogue. And this is an interesting matchup that I haven't actually seen play out too much, because the Tempo Mage is considered a favorite over the Miracle variation of Rogue, but over the Water variation, I'm not actually positive. Do you have any further insights on that, Markshire?
I also don't really know. I don't have much experience in this particular matchup. I would say maybe it's about even. I just don't know too much. Could come down to whoever ends up having the better start.
They're both fairly aggressive decks. Now, Counterfeit Coin. Now, that's an interesting choice in a Water Rogue, because normally that deck is so packed. It may have Pink Samus may have opted to go for an even more aggressive version than normal and opted out of things like Dark Iron Skulker or the extra little Curator package or something along those lines, and instead opted for a much more aggressive combo-oriented game plan with the Counterfeit Coin.
Yeah,
so
definitely an interesting inclusion. Ooh, we see the patches draw from Pink Samus. Not something you ever want to see. He can, however, just go backstab Coin SI on the Man Worm here, which seems fine.
Yeah, that seems very prudent here. It looks like Pink Samus is considering just daggering up, though, which now, I think against Tempo Mage, you want to remove all Mana Worms you see as quickly as possible, is the general rule.
You really do, and I'm not sure what he would be saving the coin for with his hand. I mean, there's nothing he wants to. There's nothing higher mana that he wants to play in his hand. So I'm really not sure about that decision.
I mean, maybe he's potentially hoping that he could. Maybe he just wants to save the coin for something like an Edwin, and And then just this next turn take, he's figuring, well, I'll probably only take 2 more damage from it, and then I'll be able to backstab SI without having to use the coin this turn. Could have been his train of thought. But we're going to see me, myself, and I opting not to use one of these low mana spells in his hand on face, and just being very patient and waiting to use his spells at a later time. We're going to see Shaku the Collector come out again. I think Samus not really respecting the mana worm.
Nope, yeah,
really mess things up.
Yeah, but I think me, myself, and I pinging last turn is the correct decision. Just because his hand doesn't really do that much right now, he didn't have any minion follow-up, so he really just wants to just get value out of his hero power while he can. He's gonna need to use the Frostbolts and Torches as removals, most likely.
That is true. Now, certainly with the Mana Worm now being 3 attack and behind 3 taunts now, Pink Samus will have to do something about this, you would think.
Yeah, oh wow. Arcane Explosion picked up, which is actually decent here. If only he had spell damage.
Yeah, if he had spell damage, this would be great. But even so, I mean, he can Arcane Explosion and coin SI as a potential play.
Yeah, that's a very good play. He could even fit a backstab in there if he wanted to. Well, at that point, you're effectively using a backstab to clear a 0-1, so that's probably not worth it. I'm just gonna coin SI and then Explosion. Yeah, it seems
fine. Finally choosing to answer this Mana Worm. I feel though he could have. I think removing it. I'm not sure what he's exactly saving the backstab for. I feel like removing it now could be good. It did just occur to me though that he might have perhaps been saving the backstab SI play in the case of something like a Flamewaker coming out, because that is an extremely dangerous card.
Flamewaker can clear an Azure Drake effectively too.
That is also true. Just play the removal game with the heavy curve. Me, myself, and I is choosing to use his smaller spells just to clear minions, knowing that he will have plenty of removal to go around with and face damage to go around with the Flame Strike and Firelance Portal and Ragnaros. And I mean, it's not as impactful at this point in the game, but me, myself, and I probably a little bit happy to not see the patches pulled off the Swashbuckler. So
yeah, it's really good. It means that it's one less actual card that Pink Samus has in his hand, and at this point, Pink Samus has very few cards that do anything of value. I mean, Backstab is decent at doing some damage to a minion. Shadow Step doesn't do much. It could maybe give him a charge or another Battle Cry from Swashbuckler. So really, and Pink Samus just doesn't have any minions in his hand right now, so this is sort of an awkward turn. I wonder if he will just Swashbuckler to get another card in his hand. Or, sorry, Shadow Step the Swashbuckler.
Yeah, all right, we're going to see a coin Cold Blood. Interesting. Oh, that's not bad, because that's difficult.
That's fine, yeah. I like that play.
And I just noticed the Pyroblast came into hand from the Swashbuckler to... that is a card that does something now. You have to be wondering, if you're me, myself, and I, like what exactly does my opponent have in hand, because he's done barely anything, and it's a very tempo-oriented rogue deck.
Yeah, so, now Flamewaker coming into hand with 2 1-health minions and the Divine Shield on board is very nice to see, but it's really awkward. He can fit the Fireball in, but then he's at the mercy of just Flamewaker RNG. He could just go with Fireball Ping and guaranteed kill off the Argent Squire. And I think that's actually the right play here, but that's only because we know that Pink Samus doesn't have any minions to follow up in hand. Me, myself, and I is going to go for the Fireball Flamewaker play. And he gets it. Oh,
incredible. We see a little bit of salt there out of Mr. Pink Samus.
Yeah, something I wanted to say earlier about me, myself, and I's hand, you know, it's all high-cost cards, and that is kind of the risk that you take when you're running these greedy cards like Ragnaros and even Flame Strike, because they're just really dead cards in the early game.
That is very true. Now, over the next couple turns, I mean, me, myself, and I doesn't know it, but he is on a clock, because as the Leroy comes into hand, with that Shadow Step we see in Pink Samus's hand, that represents 12 damage, and then he has another 4 from the Eviscerate, plus 10 from the Pyroblast, so Pink Samus is sitting at 24 damage in hand, so that will need to be That's I think that's gonna be Pink Samus's game plan, is something like on turn 8, Leroy, Shadow Step, Eviscerate. Oh, we're just gonna see the Eviscerate come out now. And then I think playing for the 10 Pyroblast.
Yeah, I don't know why he's Avissing now at all, because he can just punch face in a later turn and then have 12 plus 10 over 2 turns. It would be lethal. As we talked about last game, Tempo Mage runs no healing. We've seen both mirror images already, and that's the only source of taunt. So he just threw away this Eviscerate that could have been used as removal on another mid-sized minion, but of course it couldn't have been able to deal with Ragnaros, which now he has no answer for.
Yeah, and so yeah, just using, I mean, because he had enough. I mean, he still has enough damage to close out the game, but much slower than had he saved the Eviscerate potentially. And now this Edwin comes into hand, and it really doesn't have much to buff it, because you don't want to use the Shadow Step at this point, but you may have to do something like Edwin, Shadow Step, Edwin, just to maybe take a little bit of the Ragnaros heat off your face.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you have to. This is just such an awkward turn for Pink Samus, because he has no idea. He has no way to deal with the Ragnaros and is already at 12 health. He knows if he doesn't get a minion on the board, he's guaranteed to go down to 4 next turn. And with the portal in Me, Myself, and I's hand, that's just lethal next turn.
Yeah, and with the almost anything in Me, Myself, and I's hand, that would be just lethal. Now, we are going to see just the Leroy Shadow Step coming out this turn.
And the rope is running out. I wonder if he'll have enough time to get this off, if he even wants to replay it, which he doesn't.
And that's going to be the game for Me, Myself, and I.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be lethal, though, with the Firelands portal.
Yeah, and that's going to put the series at 1-1, and with the 1-game win, that will put Hearthstone Academy in the semifinals of THL.
Yep. Congrats to Hearthstone Academy for moving on to the semis.
Oh, thank you. But for Pride and PR, we are going to continue the series just to see what happens. Now, I'm actually a little more personally invested in this game, because hypothetically, if I were the one to have been the one to lose against NWA during the regular season, it may have possibly been against Pink Samus. So I'm looking for a little bit of vengeance from Me, Myself, and I.
Yeah, I mean, this should definitely be a great rest of the series. Both of these guys, Pink Samus, I think, has a 6-1 overall record on the season, and Me, Myself, and I is 7-2, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Although I think Pink Samus. Oh yeah. Pink Samus missed a couple of games, so he would be.
Yeah, he had to take a sub for 2 weeks, but yeah. So I mean, these are definitely two of the better players at their seeds.
Oh yeah, Me, Myself, and I actually went undefeated for the first 6 weeks of the season, so that was something.
Yeah, that's an impressive feat. But moving on to the rest of the series, so Me, Myself, and I got his mage out of the way, so he will now move on to his druid or to his rogue. I would assume the druid is a Jade druid. That's usually the most popular version. Although some people have been playing the Malygos Coon combo druid recently.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure what druid he settled on. He was debating between about 5 different deck lists, and I'm not totally certain what he settled on. So this will be a surprise for myself as well.
Okay.
All right, so we are going to see the rogue mirror here, and we already know that, and it looks like with the curator, that kind of answers the question I was just about to ask. With we see Me, Myself, and I will be on the water rogue as well, also running the counterfeit coin. Maybe there was a meta shift that I wasn't aware of. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't think it was too popular, but as a relatively new archetype, there isn't really a deck list set in stone.
And we see the top deck patches the pirate for the second game in a row.
Really, really unfortunate draw for Pink Samus. Yeah, he's just going to play it on turn 1, and I mean, it's not really getting that much better, I guess, so you may as well.
Oh man, here we go. The 1-mana 6/6. Or the double counterfeit coin into the 6/6 Edwin, and that's going to be tough, except unless there's an Eviscerate top deck here from Pink Samus. That's going to be very difficult to deal with. Actually, this would actually deal with it fine, because he can backstab and then cold blood his Patches the Pirate and deal with it that way.
Yep, that seems fine. You obviously the turn 1 6/6 is a pretty big threat. He wants to remove it as soon as possible.
Oh yeah. All right. So yeah, we see this patch is unfortunately drawn, and now both players' hands looking a little bit empty. We'll likely just see a dagger up here from me, myself, and I. And the decision is, does he decide to punch his opponent's face, or does he not? He opts to not, just to save it for a little bit more removal later on. And Pink Samus will similarly dagger up on his turn.
Yeah, really just awkward hands for both these players. We see 2 charged minions for both players in the hand, so not really ones that you want to just play immediately. I'm not really sure if Pink Samus even wants to play that deckhand because it's just going to die to the dagger.
That is true. Now, as a counterplay, it's potential for me, myself, and I, because these water rogues never run anything like Fan of Knives. So getting 3 1-health minions out here will be pretty safe and actually push quite a bit of damage.
This is a nice board swing for me, myself, and I.
Yeah, now we'll see the teched in Fan of Knives, and me, myself, and I will be sad. But all right, so we do see that now. Counterfeit Coin Azure Drake seems like a reasonable play on Pink Samus' side. I mean, his hand is very not at all exciting. So
yeah, I think it's really his only option here. He just has to coin out the Drake and take down one of the 1/2s. I guess you want to kill the Blue Gale every time because of Murloc War Leader.
Yeah, definitely. Because now the only benefit of having a pirate in the form of patches is gone. So
true, definitely. Unless maybe there's a South Sea Captain, but that's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, that is pretty unusual. And opting not to coin out this this Azure Drake, and
interesting.
That could be a prudent decision, just if Pink Samus thinks that, that Finja coming in hand is a big deal, though.
Wow.
And it could be good if Pink Samus thinks that maybe he needs to save it for a big combo turn later on with Edwin or something along those lines.
That's true. That's possible. He can still just play the Drake this turn, and it's still pretty good.
Yeah. And an interesting note about Finja, something I found from playing this deck, is that's a card where you're never at no stage of the game are you really that upset to see it in your hand, because it's so weird for like an aggro / tempo deck, but that's one of those, that is a 5-drop that I would keep in hand pretty much in my starting hand pretty much every time, I think.
Oh yeah, I completely agree.
Much, it's like the Finja turn, I mean, on turn 5 you're essentially doing nothing, but then your turn 6 is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it just creates insane tempo swings and board swings when you play it and are able to actually get the effect. We see a counterfeit coin picked up from the Swashbuckler for Pink Samus. Not exactly what you want to see with a hand that's already pretty sparse. I think he wanted something that would have given him a little bit more value.
Oh yeah. All right, so we see Finja, and pretty smart play coming out here from me, myself, and I is going to likely opt not to dagger hit the 1/1 and is going to kill off his own 1/1 on the Azure Drake, so that Finja is guaranteed to have a target that he can kill so as to activate his ability.
That, yes, would make sense, except he did kill the 1/1.
Well, he did kill the 1/1, but now even so, next turn he does have the option to dagger and Finja into the Azure Drake for the same effect.
Yeah. I mean, it still essentially does the same thing, so it's fine. Pink Samus now, I mean, you're facing down a Finja. You know that your opponent has played 1 Blue Gale, but you can be pretty sure that he's still got at least 2 Murlocs in his deck. I think he just has to go full aggression here and just throw down his entire hand.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, you're already guaranteed to have your opponent's Finja activate this turn.
Wow,
so,
and
he
chooses to hold back on the SI. I'm really not sure as to why he did that. Maybe, I guess he's saving it for removal.
Yeah, it's possible. All right, so we're gonna see the big Finja turn that.
All right, let's see what it pulls.
Waiting for here. And
the Blue Gale and the Murloc War Leader. So he can just trade that one into the Drake. Oh yeah, or he can just clear it off with a Vis SI. You should clear the board. Yeah, why not?
Right, and now there's very little that Pink Samus could do. Now, the only 3 cards, I believe, that Pink Samus could have in his hand that would win him the game at this point would be Leroy, Shadow Step, Counterfeit Coin. Now, he does have 2 of those, but unfortunately, he does not have the 3rd one.
Yeah. Um, that's true. So Pink Samus now really out of
Really?
options. He can proc SI with the counterfeit coin, but he can't really hope to clear the board. I think this is just gonna be game next turn.
Yeah, it should be about guaranteed game, especially with taking the 3 face damage and not getting the SI7 proc. Mistakes were made,
Mistakes were made.
and we're gonna see the
And
concede, putting me, myself, and I up 2-1 in the series. Now, with only his druid left to win with against both the mage and rogue of Pink Samus. Now, we don't know what this mage is, but assuming that it's likely, well, something that's not Reno mage, these two classes actually tend to have a good time against druid.
yeah, I would say they do. Rogue maybe slightly more favored than the Tempo Mage would be. So Pink Samus might just stay on the Rogue because it probably has a better matchup. But there's also a lot of merit into switching. He's lost 2 straight games with the Rogue. Maybe he just wants to get away from that deck for a bit, switch to something else.
Yeah, it's very important to not get tilted in, especially in a match like this. But we are going to see, and it does look
Okay.
like it will be a fairly standard Jade Druid coming out from me, myself, and I against the, once again, the Rogue from Pink Samus, and kind of an interesting inclusion. Now, people go back and forth on between Naga Corsair and the Tomb Pillager,
Tomb
but
Pillager,
with
right.
two counterfeit, well, with at least one counterfeit coin in his deck. I suppose the Tomb Pillager kind of keeps up the extra mana, cheat the curve kind of combo activating, more importantly than anything, kind of approach. So that makes some sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going in with all the coins, you may as well just stick with that strategy. Might have a total of 4 coins in his deck with the two Tomb Pillagers and the 2 counterfeit coins.
Now, Pink Sam is putting a lot of thought into his mulligan. What would you hold out of it? Because I personally, against Druid, I find, especially with coin in hand, like, yeah, he's gonna keep the Eviscerate, which I'm a little bit confused about, but definitely keeping the Tomb Pillager.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely keep the Pillager and the SI. I don't think I would keep the Eviscerate. I'm not really sure why he chose to go for that option.
Yeah, double
Um,
War Leader can lead to some pretty big boards early on, so kind of interesting to see.
yeah, I mean it's not that bad to have a minion heavy hand with Druid. Jade Druid's weakness still is, as Druid's weaknesses have been, are decks that flood the board. Decks that go wide just put on a lot of pressure with a lot of different minions.
Right, because
Pink
outside of
Samus,
Swipe or, I mean, Starfall, if you really want to go all out, they don't have a lot of options for really good board clears like Flame Strike or Holy Nova or Dragonfire Potion or anything like that.
yeah, and Pink Samus just daggering up rather than going for a coin SI or a coin War Leader. I really just think you have to put the pressure on Druid there. I think that's too slow of a play, really. And now he does have the backstab, so he can backstab and play a 3-drop. He might just play the War Leader here because if it does stick, then he can buff it up next turn with the second War Leader.
Yeah, I mean, this hand looks pretty strong from Pink Samus. He is going to opt to use the SI7, which I don't know if I agree with as much because you're mentioning,
I think the War Leader is just better.
Yeah, the War Leader into another War Leader. Now, would you innervate Jade Behemoth here? Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It's
Jades are
yeah.
already at 3-3. It contests the board very well with the SI.
Very good. Counterfeit coin coming into hand for Pink Samus.
And now the only way for Pink Samus to clear this board is with some double Eviscerate play. Now, if he had played the Murloc War Leader next turn, he would have been able to play his War Leader and then coin out an Eviscerate. And yeah, the buffed War Leader plus his dagger could have traded into the Jade Behemoth, and then he could have eviscerated the 3-3. But he can't do that now. So
yeah, pretty much the only plays available with Pink Samus, because just at a glance, it's like, oh man, he has a great hand, he has Eviscerates, he has minions, and clear this board easy, but he doesn't really have any super efficient way of removing, and now he's going to play this Tomb Pillager and just get it swiped.
And he's going to make a preemptive trade in. I guess he just doesn't want that 3-3 to get traded in. And the 5-4 is a little bit annoying to remove from you, myself, and I. He does have the swipe and the Feral Rage, but I think he might just go ahead and play the Emperor this turn just to get the discount on this hand.
Yeah, because then you have 4 mana, draw 3 cards, and 2-mana Feral Rage. These are all like actually great cards to get reductions on. So
Yeah.
yes, on second thought, I would agree there, and as does Me, Myself, and I. And he's just going to throw some more damage at the face.
Yep.
Oh, another
Pink
Patches
Samus,
draw.
ooh, with the third Patches draw in a row. You just hate to see that.
Yeah, that was actually fun story. That was how I got knocked out Hero out of the Winter Tavern Hero tournament. This year was two matches where I got 3 consecutive Patches draws, which did not feel good. But I suppose when you play, the more turns that go on without playing a pirate, the more and more likely that becomes. So
That's true. That's true.
Patches is going to come out. I mean, he does serve as kind of as an eviscerate or a combo activator that doesn't require you to use up one of your coins.
Yeah, it's not horrible. Now Pink Samus here, he can just eviscerate to kill off the 3/3, and then not really have anything on the board besides a 1/1. Luckily for him, Me, Myself, and I doesn't have any immediate minions in hand to put down onto the board, but if he doesn't put on any pressure, then Me, Myself, and I has got to feel pretty good about just nourishing for 4 mana next turn and refilling his hand.
Oh yeah, now that has to that just hit and dagger up. And I think
no, you have to at least coin the War Leader out or this.
Oh yeah,
one of those.
No, I think Pink Samus. We've noticed a trend in these matches of Pink Samus really kind of playing as kind of the defending player when he really should have been playing as the aggressor.
Yep, yeah, I completely agree with that. Me, Myself, and I just gets basically a free turn to draw and develop a 4/4 on the board. And even though he didn't really have a great draw, Wild Growth and Innervate don't really do that much at this stage of the game, I still think he's in a strong spot.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And it was also smart, not knowing what he was going to draw on, correct, to use the 5-mana Nourish there over the 4-mana Nourish, because the only thing you know you're doing for sure in that situation is to hero power and kill the 1/1. So very, very smart mana management, and that is a good draw with this hand.
Wow, and just Fandral, and he gets rewarded for it. He can now Fandral and play the 4-mana Nourish rather than having to waste an Innervate.
And then he gets to use the Feral Rage, which is extremely good. And we see Aya, Blackpaw, and Druid of the Claw coming in hand, so a very anti-aggro, a slightly more anti-aggro, rather, variation on this Jade Druid, which we kind of knew already because we saw the Ancient of War over something like an Arcane Golem. But Druid of the Claw, always good for a 5-mana taunt. And here it will actually become a 5-mana taunt with charge if this Fandral stays alive.
And it looks like the Fandral will stay alive. Pink Samus only has a backstab for removal. That's not going to be enough. He's going to be 1 damage off of killing the Fandral here.
We're going to see this War Leader come out probably about 3 or 4 turns too late. A lot of people would say. All right, so just every play in the world available to Me, Myself, and I.
Druid of the Claw, Innervate Aya. Why not? Why not? It's just.
I don't know.
And Me, Myself, and I just has way too much board here. Pink Samus is just going to concede, and Me, Myself, and I will take the series 3-1.
Yep, taking it 3-1, and so that will wrap up our series. Yeah, very to be fair, that water rogue, well, any sort of rogue throughout the history of Hearthstone, but particularly this more aggro-oriented rogue is a fairly difficult deck to play, and it takes a little bit of practice to get to the point where you can actually play it. Consistently well.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult deck. It just has so many synergies with it. You can end up with some awkward hands. We saw the 3 Patches draws. Pink Samus was also left with turns where he only had like Leroy and Shadow Step or counterfeit coins in his hand. So it can be pretty awkward to navigate.
Yes, very. Especially as you have so many situational cards that you have to often figure out how to turn those situational cards to benefit the situation you find yourself in. So it's rogue is definitely one of the classes that's difficult to master. It's actually my only non-golden class, so that just shows even I have yet to kind of figure out entirely what's going on. But that was our series. Again, 3-1 in favor of Me, Myself, and I, solidifying Hearthstone Academy's win over NWA. So any thoughts on the series overall, Markshire?
I mean, I thought it was a pretty good series. Unfortunate that we got to see. It always feels bad when you get swept on a deck. You get all three of your
Right.
losses. I don't think me, myself, and I was targeting that particular deck, but that did. I guess it worked out for him. Looking at the playoff picture overall, it looks like Hearthstone Academy will go on to play the winner of Initium Novum and Parallax, I believe.
Yeah, and so far Initium Novum off to a good start with 3-1 and 3-0 wins from their 1 and 2 seeds respectively.
Yeah, we saw Initium Novum last week beat Parallax also in pretty solidifying fashion or pretty dramatic fashion. I forget exactly what the score was, but I think they got 4 out of 5 wins or something like that, and it looks like they're headed toward that way again. So
Yeah, and
I,
then yeah.
yeah, so as a member of Hearthstone Academy, how do you feel about those two teams? You know, is there a team that you'd rather play, or someone you're excited to play on one of those two teams?
Well, we lost to Parallax was our one regular season loss. We lost by 1 point, and then Initium Novum we did beat, but it wasn't exactly easy because they have a very strong lineup. I actually know Wolfmac personally, like
Hmm.
he's a local guy where I am, so he's a great guy. But I have actually yet to beat him in a competitive series, including when I was the 2 seed, or no, it was when I was the 3 seed as well, and he was the 3 seed because their top 3 seeds shift around a lot. We played, and he actually right after Pink Samus gave me my second loss on a reverse sweep on Reno Mage. So he is a very, very
Mhm.
strong player. And then on Parallax's side, we also have Houdini. So I actually would have liked to see that match, Wolfmac and Houdini. They're two
I
personal
would
friends of
too. Yeah.
mine and two very good players. So it's fun to see they match up. But yeah, I mean, I think either team is going to be definitely a challenge. Neither one is an easy win by any means. So even though Parallax had a little bit of difficulties down the stretch of the regular season, they're still just as strong as they always have been. So it would be an exciting match either way. So I'm looking forward to either one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of that match play out. It's too bad we couldn't get any of those games on stream, but oh well.
That's too bad. Then on the other side of the playoff bracket, we have the Harry Generals against Supreme. Supreme seems to be up by just not a ton, by about 5 points right now. But that's actually your match. So how do you feel about that one? How do you think that match is going to conclude?
Yeah, so we've only got 2 matches left. I'm playing Slimsh, and then Jedi Ninja is playing MV Parker, and both of those games
Ooh.
are happening on Sunday night. So Supreme is does have a 5 point lead, so I think both of us will have to win our matches. It's going to be tough. I mean, I've already played Slimsh once this season. I unfortunately lost 2-3 in that one. It was a tight one, but I'm looking forward playing him again. I think it's going to be a really good series.
Would be good. And then we see a very close series as well to finish off the playoff picture of Eon versus Entropy. Entropy kind of really coming into their own over the course of the season. I think the second
Wait,
highest
Entropy
collective
coming?
PR. I'm sorry.
Oh, I would say that Entropy is. I would say that Aeon has come into their own. Entropy kind of like started off the season as a very strong team,
Oh, right.
and
Well, I
and
was I
then
was just thinking because Entropy has the second highest collective team PR in the league, I believe.
yes, they do. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Um, Yeah, but I was gonna say Aeon. They've been in the league I think for about 3 years now, and for the past 2 years they've always been a team that is very talented on paper, but then never really seems to get it done. I know they missed the playoffs last year, um, but they've had a very good season so far this year, and we can see that they're already up 8-4 with 2 wins already. But although both of those wins were 3-2.
They were 3-2. However, if you look at Darkseid versus Phenom, one of the better players in this league, very prolific in the not just the Open Cup scene, but also the HCT scene. I think he's at least competed in the last two America's playoffs. So very interesting to see Darkseid get a win, however close, over Phenom. So very big shout out to him for the big upset win.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that as well. But yeah, I mean, props to Darkseid for getting that win over an established player.
Especially not running Warrior Shaman. Very impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us tonight. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a really good time. Shout out to Slimsh. Normally helps cast and helps set up the match for tonight, but was unable to be here unfortunately. And to the Anarchist for producing the stream and making sure everything goes hunky dory.
Yeah. Thank you to both those guys as well.
Yeah,
right.
so I think see you next week for where we'll see hopefully some pretty close semifinal matches.
Yep. See you guys next week.